Hi, have you ever wondered how our money is made? This video will explain how our money is made and how the system that creates our money pushes us to destroy our planet and ourselves. First of all, you may think that money is created by governments. Well, that's not the case. Surprisingly, money is created by private companies that we call banks. It always starts with a loan, and it works as follows. Imagine a person who represents society who goes to a bank and says, I want to borrow 100 euros from you. And the bank says, okay, I'll lend you 100 euros. You may think that the bank takes these 100 euros out of its accounts where it has these 100 euros already because other clients deposit money in the bank. Well, that is not the case. The bank does something unbelievable. It creates these 100 euros out of nothing. It does this in the following way. It simply prints the number 100 electronically on an account and it allocates this account to the person. This is how money is created. So that means that in our society, money is created just like a crook would print false money, lend it out to people and tell them this is real money. But the difference is that our governments have decided to give the right to the banks to do so. So it is legal. And banks, they lend this money to people and companies in exchange for something. And that something is a promise. The promise that the person will pay everything back to the bank. And if the person doesn't do that, the person will lose what he needs to live, like his house or his company, etc. So this is serious business. And once this serious business is settled, the person can go out in society and spend his 100 euros that have been freshly created out of nothing by private banks. Isn't it unbelievable? Now, let's take a look at these euros, at this money. What is it? You may think that these 100 euros are a positive value in the pocket of the person. Well, it's rather the contrary. It's a negative value or a hole in the pocket of the person because 100 euros means that this person must pay 100 euros to the bank. It is a debt. In other words, money is debt circulating in society. Money only means that somewhere in society a person or a company still owes money to the bank. That is what money means. It is a debt. Now let's see what happens when the person pays the money back to the bank. The person goes to the bank and the person says, hello, I have 20 euros that I want to pay back on my 100 euro loan. Then again, something unbelievable happens. The bank destroys the 20 euros. And I'll explain why. Because when the person pays back 20 euros, that means that this part of the loan is cancelled and that the loan is reduced to 80 euros. And as money is always based on a loan, it corresponds to a loan, to a debt. That means that the available money in society is no longer 100 euros, but it is 80 euros. And to make it even more extreme, this means that if all persons and companies in society would pay back all their loans to the banks, there would be no more money in society. And that would be a catastrophe because our economy needs money to function. And that is why we keep on borrowing money from banks so that banks can continue to produce money, can produce debts, so that we can have an economy that functions. But there's another reason why we continue to borrow money. And that's because banks do not lend money only against a promise that the person will pay the loan back. No, the banks, they want something extra to be paid back, namely interest. For example, 5%, which is 5 euros in this example. The banks, they want this extra on top of the loan to be paid back because they need to finance their buildings and their staff and their shareholders. Now this causes a big problem. Why? Because this makes it technically impossible for society to pay back all the loans. And I'll explain why. Because the money available in society, I will draw it for you, corresponds exactly to the amounts of the loans that were created by the banks. But it doesn't correspond to the interest. So the available money can pay back the loans because it was created from the loan, but it cannot pay back the interest because the interest does not create money. There are no 5 euros here in society that were created when the banker asks for this interest. This interest is just a bill issued by the banker because the banker created 100 euros for the person. So this causes a big problem because this means that in order to pay back the loan plus the interest, society will have to borrow more money. But borrowing more money means having to pay more interest. And having to pay more interest means that society has to borrow even more money and have to pay back even more interest, etc., etc. So you see that because of the system, society creates a growing amount of debt that has to be paid back. And it can only be paid back if society produces more houses, more electricity, more cars, more iPhones, etc. Why produce more? Well, in order to produce more euros, in order to pay back the bankers and our growing debt. Now, this, what I just explained, the growing debt and the growing production, this is what we call growth. And growth is tragic for 2 reasons. First of all, because the purpose of this growing production is not to fulfill a growing need of society, but to answer to a growing greed of the banker who wants his growing interest bills to be paid. The second reason why growth is tragic is because this growing production of things, and will continue to grow, will have to come out of a planet that cannot grow. Because houses are made of stone, and cars are made of metal, and iPhones also are made of stuff that comes out of the ground. So if we let this system go on, and let the production grow endlessly and the debt grow endlessly, it will destroy the planet. Now, the main message of this video is the following, is that we are currently depleting our planet, not because, as some say, a capitalist market system, but as a direct consequence of the way our money functions. It's because of the way our money functions that we see the earth not as a place to live, but as a resource that needs to be depleted to produce more money, to pay back to the banker, to pay back a growing debt that will continue to grow and that we will technically never be able to reimburse. Now, what to do? We can do 2 things. First of all, we need to change the rules a little bit of this system. I'm not going to talk about that because it's too complicated for this little video. Secondly is we need to protect our heritage, to protect our water, our soil, our trees, our nature. We need to protect this because, and here I will quote the French Algerian philosopher Pierre Rabhi in his book Vers la sobriété heureuse, because only after the last tree has been cut, after the last river has been poisoned, after the last fish has been captured, only then you will discover that you cannot eat money. So, if next time somebody talks to you about growth and tells you that growth is what we need, please think of this. Thank you very much.